Hello chess friends and welcome to your Zone of Chess channel and welcome to a truly spectacular gameplay by one of the best chess engines in the world. Welcome to an amazing gameplay by Leela C Zero against Akimbo in a spectacular Kmoch variation of the Nimzo-Indian Defense. And the cool part about this game is that Leela C Zero will introduce to us here really a beautiful novelty against the Nimzo-Indian Defense, a wild line that has never been played so far in chess history, really completely new method to dismantle, to destroy the Nimzo-Indian Defense. So if you're bothered maybe by the Nimzo-Indian Defense with the white pieces, this is a perfect video for you. Check it out. In my opinion, really great gameplay by Leela C Zero. So let's see now what happened with the white pieces here. Leela opened with the move d4. Akimbo's response was knight to f6, c4, e6, knight to c3, bishop to b4, leads of course into the amazing Nimzo-Indian Defense. Now we have the Kmoch variation, which is now this preparation to hit the center with the move e4. If that happens, of course, white is then a powerful center with his pawn on c4, d4, e4 with the support of the f3 pawn. Then normal development is, of course, here possible. Bishop to e3, bishop to d3, knight to e2. So I think slowly and surely white will build a beautiful attacking formation in the middle game stage. But that's why d5 played by Akimbo, battling immediately for the e4 square. Leela C Zero plays a3, bishop to c3, and now after b takes c3, we have reached now a position that has been played many times, and I have to tell you that this position is pretty solid for black. For instance, the first a couple of games that you see in the database, for instance, Caruana versus Magnus Carlsen, in which Magnus Carlsen won with the black pieces. Then we have Anand versus Carlsen, again Magnus won the game. Then Firuza versus Carlsen, again Magnus won the game. We have here Mamedjadov against Karyakin, Mamedjadov won with the white pieces. Then we have Anand versus Kramnik, ended with a draw. So I think it's really a decent also setup now for black, because black has still this possibility to break and enter here with potential ideas like c5. White has several problems to where to go with the Darsko bishop. Also the Lysko bishop is a little bit misplaced, a little bit paralyzed, neutralized by its own pawn. So as I said, it's pretty solid now position for both sides. So we have here c6 by Akimbo. We have h4, and this becomes now this amazing theoretical novelty, a move that has never been played so far in chess history, a completely new method here by Leela C Zero. In chess history, e3 has been played, e4 here in many of these lines, queen to c2 has been played, bishop to g5. Every of this move is perfectly fine, but Leela C Zero plays here really the most aggressive line with the beautiful h4, going immediately into a flank attack. Very wild stuff. So immediately Leela C Zero is attacking here the king side. So we have here b6 by Akimbo. A normal idea, of course, to hit further the pawn on c4. Leela C Zero continues with rook to a2, and this is a beautiful move because this move we have seen many times by Stockfish. I think this is sort of a Stockfish signature move when Stockfish is playing a rook lift and then of course is trying to get a rook on a better file. So here obviously what Leela is trying to do is to play the move e4, even g4, and then to reroute the rook here to g2 in order to attack maybe here the g file. So really a deep idea. We have seen it many times in the Nimzo-Indian Defense, but I think this is really a little bit different because we have already this advanced pawn, which makes this potential g-file attack even more dangerous here for black. We have bishop to a6. Akimbo goes, of course, for the c4 pawn. Now Leela C Zero breaks with the beautiful e4. If you play here d takes e4, f takes e4 leads into a complicated line for black, actually, because you have to now retreat with the knight. We pick up the pawn, you can maybe attack the queen, but now after queen to h6, I think this wouldn't be a good position for black because the position is so dynamic, the position is so open. That's I think much better for white here that has the bishop pair. Black will not be able to castle anymore on the queen side because the position is simply too advanced here. So there are many spaces that white could attack even if black somehow manages to castle queen side. So in this position I think the bishop pair is much better because the position is exploding, and of course the long range pieces, the bishops, are much better in this types of positions. So that's why after move e4, Akimbo goes with bishop to c4. We have bishop to c4. Okay, Akimbo won a pawn, but now Leela C Zero shows its mean plan. Now Leela C Zero has this powerful center, has this beautiful king side attack, has opportunities to play the move g4, and as we said, rook to g2 and then attack the g file. So I think it's a decent compensation for the lost pawn because you have at least some progressive ideas. usually when you play sometimes against the Nimzo-Indian Defense with the white pieces, the position becomes static, then you're battling for a square, you're trying to improve the position of your minor pieces. Basically, it's a positional battle, it's a positional struggle. With this method, I think Leela C Zero guaranteed here a beautiful dynamic play. So we have knight to e2 by Leela, we have castling, and now comes this idea, g4. Knight from f to d7. If you play knight from b to d7, seems tempting, but actually the problem about knight from b to d7 is that this knight on f6 is actually vulnerable to white's attacks. We would simply play h5, and then in some lines maybe even g5 to attack the knight. Then g6, I think, if you allow maybe an extra tempo against this knight on f6, then white could build really a fast attack against black's castle king. So that's why knight from f to d7, getting out of the potential g5 attack. We have bishop to f4, Leela controls the e5 square, and now b5. Akimbo has to make something now on the queen side, because there is simply disadvantage that you have 4 versus 2 situation on the queen side, so you're trying at least to make something on this side of the board. We have h5 by Leela, knight to b6, and now king side castling even. So Leela C Zero castled into the position where you have already advanced the pawns. It's really crazy, but when we think about it harder, I'm not seeing even good ways how black would attack the king side here, because even if you try to get the queen bishop to g3 is going to happen, you still have to step back with the queen, maybe rook to f2, rook to h2 attacking the queen. So you don't have support. You could maybe try to attack the spaces that white left behind when white advanced the pawns, but in my opinion, nothing really dramatic could happen here in front of white's king. So we have here knight to d7, bishop to d6 hitting the rook, and now knight to g3, h6, and now comes this beautiful idea, rook to g2. That's the move that we have been waiting for. Look at this. The rook is now becoming the most powerful piece on the board, and obviously what we're trying to do is play g5 and maybe crack open the position on the g file. This rook is already very active on the f file, so I think it's a beautiful attack here by Leela C Zero. Knight to f8, good move, I think, also by Akimbo, defensive move, controlling g6 h7, also hitting immediately the bishop on d6. Bishop to f4 by Leela, and now c5. Black has to make something now on the queen side, because you cannot wait anymore. You have to be now very active on the other side of the board. Queen to c1. Beautiful move here again by Leela, sacrificing even the pawn on d4 just in order to make this move happen. g5, which would simply crack open the position, as we said, here on the g file. We have c takes d4, now comes g5, we have now e5, bishop to d2, we have d takes c3, and again Leela C Zero doesn't want to take, because after bishop to e3, look at his pawns. Okay, you have now 4 versus 1 majority on the queen side, but it's really tough to advance the pawns. You cannot even play c2, this pawn will be taken. Then you cannot, of course, advance the pawn to c3. You could maybe try to be fast here with a5, b4, but I think white is already there. White's position is much better here on the king side. I think when we watch who is faster on the attack, white is much faster in his progressive ideas here on the king side. We have g6, we have f4. Leela C Zero is not waiting for a second, simply continues the pressure. Now look at this, the rook is here, rook is there, this knight is active, bishop very good, queen placed on this diagonal. So beautiful attacking harmony by Leela C Zero. E takes f4, bishop to f4, c2, trying to do something, but Leela C Zero doesn't care, leaves this pawn, simply opens the position as promised here on the g file. We have knight from b to d7, queen takes c2, we have a check, but no problem. King to h1, the king is pretty secured because there are many pieces that are protecting the king. And not only that these pieces are protecting the king, the pieces are of course also participating in the attack of white. So it's really a double function of all of these pieces of white. Meanwhile, we can say that all of these pieces by black are really passive. They're not playing actively. They're not participating in black's attack. So really a spectacular position. Rook from a to d8, and now another stunning move, h7, kicking away here the king. What should black do? For instance, if you try king to h7, then the queen is coming on a beautiful square, and there are not many things that could happen. Maybe you're trying to get out of this mess. Then we play knight to f5. Look at this. You're trying to trade off the queens. The queen is coming here. You're trying maybe to get the queen into the defense, but now knight is coming. You're trying this one. Look at this. You can even sacrifice the knight. Now we played something like this, bishop to e5, discovered check, and the queen is lost. So Of course, black doesn't have to play the game like this, but I think when the king gets decoyed to the h file, then there are many chances. This was just line that I've shown you, but I think in every other line also, black is going to be destroyed. So here, that's why for h7, akimbo tried king to h8, which makes sense. Applying the strategy, hiding behind your enemy's pawn. So now when there's the pawn, you cannot be attacked, of course, by the heavy artillery. I've seen this defensive strategy many times. Good, I think, defensive move by akimbo. But now queen to c3 anyway here by Leela. Akimbo has to cover, and that was now here Leela C Zero's mean plan. The knight is pinned. If you try, of course, to cover, then we'll simply take. You cannot even get the king closer. h6 is going to happen again. Deflect the king from the defense of the knight on f6. So that's why in this scenario, akimbo tried at least to give up the rook, but at least black is gaining a minor piece. And again, akimbo is relying here on this 3 versus 1 pawn majority, is hoping to get maybe a decent endgame. But Leela C Zero calculated everything in a good way. Rook takes f7, a5, rook to g1, knight to e5 hitting the rook, new attack against the rook, and now after knight to d4, rook to f6, bringing the rook, of course, on the most active square. Now there is a tension here. This rook can go behind. Very important move by Leela C Zero, not only attacking, but also anticipating white's problems on the queen side, because black has obviously this better position on this side of the board. We have g takes h5, we have a knight to f5 trading off the knights, and now the rook is on a good square attacking all of these pawns on the 5th rank. Knight to g6 attacking the knight, going behind his pawns. Leela C Zero took the pawn on c4, b takes a3, now also rook to a4 attacking both of his pawns, new check, taking this pawn, and this becomes now, of course, completely winning endgame here for white. We have a rook to e8, rook to a8, good move again by Leela C Zero, forcing the trades of rooks, and in this particular position, akimbo resigned. But I wanted to show you a couple of more moves, although akimbo resigned here, because many of us would even mess up this position, because what you don't do here is give up this pawn. You have to protect this pawn in order to win this endgame. If there's no white pawn anymore, and if there's no pawn anymore for black, in a potential fully endgame with only the rook and the knight on the board, actually it's a draw. So that's why white has to be careful. I pushed the position a little bit further because I wanted to show you how to actually win this game. After king to f6, king to g2, you cannot allow here black to take the pawn. You have to get the king closer. And now, for instance, if knight to g5 happens, then you go with king to e3. Black cannot take the pawn because black will lose then the knight. You can cover, and this pawn will be taken. So it's game over. So as I said, instead of this move king to g2, if we, for instance, try rook takes a3 here, many of us would play this move. Actually, it's a draw because black can take this pawn. Okay, maybe you can just advance the pawn further, but with the support of the knight, with the support of the king, in one moment this pawn will be taken. So that's why I think it's very important to know here this endgame, king to g2, first getting the king closer, and then taking out the knight, and then afterwards to take out the pawn. So impressive game by Leela C Zero for sure. I really enjoyed in this one because it's an attack that we have never seen before against the Nimzo-Indian Defense. Let's go back to this beautiful novelty. h4 immediately hitting the flanks, waiting here black to take d takes c4 and then advance the pawn on e4. In my opinion, very playable line. Maybe there's something for it. Maybe you can surprise your opponent with this beautiful Leela C Zero method. So, okay, I hope that you enjoyed the game. I really enjoyed it a lot. If you want to see more spectacular, brutal, sharp, positional, and tactical chess, check out our Come to Chess Games Play by Computer series. Here's the link of our playlist. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos. And what do we say in the end? Chess is the best, of course.